Hello, everybody, and welcome to Last Week Today Live. I'm your host, Philtastic Phil, and welcome back to the channel. So, I'll be honest with you, I did not get the opportunity to do any reading this week. It's been a very, very busy week for me. I have to say that. I did, however, stop at my LCS yesterday. I'll show you my haul in just a few moments, and I did get my free comic book day books. My LCS was nice enough to, of course, put some stuff aside for me. Yeah, excuse me. Like I said in my video from last week, make sure when you do go to your LCS, if they saved free comic book day books, even if they didn't, make sure you buy something, because without the LCSs, there is no free comic book day, and it's important that we keep these guys going. So I'm just waiting. See, we have somebody in here. Feel free to chat, say hello. We're broadcasting, of course, to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube simultaneously, thanks to StreamYard, and thanks to Brian LCS for introducing me to StreamYard. Appreciate that, and that guy's a good dude. So if you're interested in comics and you watch YouTube, you should go ahead and give him a follow. And he's got his awards, the CBCA awards nominations open, as I have papers off to my side falling. But let's see, what did I do with my whole books? Where did they go? All right, well, they'll pop up when we're ready to look at them, hopefully. But let's see. I'm trying to think then of some news I heard this week. Yep, here they are. There we go, nice and prepared, aren't we? So some news items. Ezra Miller, just yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, he didn't get arrested again, but the body cam footage of his most recent arrest was released. If you're not familiar, Ezra Miller, the actor who plays the Flash, he's been in a number of things too. I remember seeing him in Garden State. He had two problems in Hawaii within about a week or two of each other. He got into a fight at the same bar and was arrested, I believe, for assault twice. Now, to be fair, up until now, we don't know any details other than that. We don't know whether he was attacked or what the story is, so to speak. But the body cam footage was released this week. And if you haven't gotten a chance to see it, it's just very odd. He shows up at this bar. The police show up at this bar. They're talking to the people who he allegedly assaulted. Then they go over to question him, and he's like, "Look, I was assaulted here last week. I came back this week. So if you got hit at one place, why would you come back like that, I guess?" But he said he recorded the whole thing on his phone, and he was flashing around his phone because he's making an NFT. I think he said an art NFT for sale of him getting assaulted, I suppose. If you're not familiar with NFTs, I don't even know really how to describe them. I've tried to look into them, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I know that there's a lot of people who enjoy them. If you enjoy them, great. But anyway, Ezra Miller said that he went back to this bar where he got assaulted again with his camera filming to sell that as some kind of an NFT. And then in the process, hey, Matt, in the process, the police were actually arresting him, patting him down. He accused one of them of grabbing his junk, and then said he is transvestite, non-binary, and demands to be patted down by a female officer. And just a whole lot of craziness ensued from there. So a couple things became apparent to me. Number one, I don't know what the circumstances are. I don't know if he's got some sort of a mental issue, or if he maybe has some sort of a substance issue, but he needs some kind of help. And that's not a laughing matter at all. Number two, I don't know what his agent or what his PR team is doing, because they've been radio silence. I would have thought he would have had some sort of statement. But it's been quiet. I mean, look, even everything going on with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, they've been putting out statements left and right. And that brings me to the next point too, is that Warner Brothers has stayed very quiet at this point. But if your guy's up on there, if the Flash is up there yelling and starting trouble, I can't see him being the Flash too much longer. I don't know if they're waiting for his day in court. That's what my gut tells me. And that's, to be honest with you, my same kind of gut with the whole Amber Heard trial. I can't see them continue on with her with a lot of this negative press, but I think they're waiting to see what the actual verdict is. They didn't give Johnny Depp that courtesy, but, well, I guess they kind of did. They waited for the British court. I should take that back. Matt Woods has some NFTs. I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, with NFTs, I've tried to jump on in time to buy them, and they are always sold out within seconds. Just for that reason, because I figure, okay, well, I would wait until it gets to a couple $100 and just trade it in. I don't see anything with that kind of staying power, like like an X-Men #1. Like, yeah, if you buy that, you could put that aside. That's an evergreen. That's always going to be worth something. I can't see NFTs lasting personally, but again, I don't know that much about them. If you do, kudos and hats off to you. Other news articles. This one kind of seemed a little strange to me. Disney announced that at their most recent investors meeting, or I think it was their quarterly earnings, they've lost $1 billion by dropping between Disney and Hulu, by dropping, I guess, content that other streaming services were taking on. So, for example, let's say Hulu had The Office, and then as soon as NBC launched Peacock, NBC was like, well, once the rights come out, it's coming back to us. Now, Disney and Hulu at the time, when Disney Plus was launching, was very gung-ho on, okay, well, look, if that's it, go ahead and take it. Or they were actually ending those contracts too, even if, like, your NBC or your Paramount or what have you, because there's a million different streaming services now. They were kind of quick to end those business relationships. And at first, it seemed like that kind of bolstered numbers, if I'm reading that right, only because it let them focus on their own content. Kudos to them. Now they're saying that they lost $1 billion this past quarter by doing so, but they're very upbeat about that. And they say the streaming services continue to be a moneymaker. So a couple of things came apparent to me. Number one, maybe I'm not a business or executive material, but I don't know how losing $1 billion contributes to success. The Disney CEO, I think it's Bob Chapek, was very upbeat. It's like, oh no, this is good. From what I've read, there's not a lot of people who are fans of Bob Chapek, but I don't see how losing $1 billion is a good thing. We subscribed to Disney. Actually, we got in on a promotion that I think expires this year. I subscribed to Hulu only because at the beginning of the year they were doing something. I think it was like $1.99 for a year. So we're subscribed to that for a year. And then hopefully they'll bundle everything together. I don't know. Speaking of Hulu, by the way, and Hulu, I have to say, out of the streaming services we have, is probably the one that we watch the least. And it's just, a lot of time constraints. There's still series that I started and haven't finished. My son's going to be 3 months old next month, and that's a huge, huge time commitment, as you may imagine. Though he's good. He'll sit and watch anything that we want to watch with us, but it's still, sometimes he sits down and it's just like you're drained. But Hulu, I'm sad to announce, canceled one of my favorite shows on the platform. They recently just canceled MODOK. Hear me out. I watched MODOK on a whim. I don't know if you've checked it out or not. It's done in kind of like a stop animation style, kind of like Robot Chicken. And, excuse me, I'll be the first to tell you, I do wish I had $1 billion to lose to, man. Even like $1/10 billion, I'd be good with. But yeah, I'm not a big animation guy to begin with. It just doesn't capture me. My wife wants to watch one of the animated movies on Disney Plus. Like, I think the last thing we watched was last animated movie. I can't think the name of it, but the kid in Italy who's a fish. He's a mermaid. That was a fun one. But in general, not a big animation fan. I kind of watched this on a whim, and I have to say it was hysterical. Patton Oswalt did the voice of MODOK, and I know he's a big comic book fan, but he brings just this layer of just greatness to it, and it's funny. I like their take on it. He's like the head of AIM, but at home he's dead, and he has, 2 children and a wife. And I don't know if you have Hulu, or if you could borrow somebody's on the sly. Definitely check it out. It was only, I think was it one season? I think it's only one season. It could be 1 or 2 seasons. If I'm not mistaken, but definitely worth a watch. A lot of Easter eggs in it. They have at one point Angar the Screamer, Super Adaptoid, just a lot. I think Wonder Man's in it at one point, and they, excuse me, have unique and hilarious different takes. As you can see, I'm still fighting. These are just from allergies, but we're talking. It's been like 2-3 months at this point. So yeah, I mean, MODOK. I hope that you check it out. I don't know if it's something they would necessarily bring to Disney Plus or something like that. It is more adult oriented, although, yeah, the Netflix series are now on there. You have to put in your PIN code to prove that you're an adult, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to miss that series. I have checked out some of the other Marvel series on Hulu. Hit Monkey, again, I'm not really into animation. I think I only watched like the first episode, maybe the second one too. It just seems like it took it a little too serious for me. And Hit Monkey never really appealed to me. Even when the book was out, I'm trying to think. I didn't pick up his series. I remember he kind of crossed over with Deadpool, because the creator of Hit Monkey, Daniel Way, was writing Deadpool at the time. And I think that was either right before or right after he wrote Wolverine Origins. But, look, if you like it, of course, that's your thing. Hit Monkey, I don't know. It just kind of sounds silly to me. But whatever. Trying to think. Other news. Doctor Strange, I still haven't seen it yet, so you're not going to get any spoilers from me. But what the hell is going on with Marvel? They're spoiling their own movies. They spoiled who the big cameo is at the end. I'm not going to say it in case you manage to avoid it, but it was pretty hard to avoid. And I have to say, some of the fans, and I shouldn't even say the fans, but your comic book journalists like CBR, I think, they were giving out major spoilers during the week. And I'm like, look, this movie hasn't even been out a week yet. Any page that gave out a spoiler, I unfollowed. I pride myself on usually being pretty good to avoid spoilers. I still haven't seen that last Spider-Man film yet. We're probably going to rent that one night. Maybe tonight if we're not passed out tired. But yeah, I've managed to avoid all of the spoilers for that one. And that came out right around Christmas. But Doctor Strange out less than a week. And again, Marvel's just spoiling it. I don't understand what the thought process is. I look forward to watching it when it's streaming. But as I've said on my channel before, and I'm going to say it again, we're not going back to the theater. We're in the Northeast. We're in New Jersey. New York, which is literally less than an hour from us, is another COVID hotspot. We're vaccinated, but can't get a vaccination for a 3-month-old, and I'm not quite sure that we would, to be honest with you. We're doing our best to stay safe, and look, I mean, a lot of that has avoided people who are unvaccinated, avoiding going into restaurants and sitting down. I love going to comedy clubs. I haven't been in a comedy club at this point in probably over 2 years. I watch the comedy club I go to, the Stress Factory in New Brunswick, New Jersey. If you ever have the opportunity, I highly recommend it. They've been around for about 30 years. The owners, Vinny and Vicky Brand, have a weekly show they do every Tuesday night, and I make sure that, if I'm not busy, if I'm not out shopping or something, or if I'm not sleeping, that happens sometimes, we're watching live, we're checking in. And I keep telling them too, hey, if you guys sell merch online again, I'll buy it in a second because I want you guys to survive. And luckily, these guys, I have to say, have been at the forefront really of how to run a business or comedy club during COVID. They've really kind of pioneered just some measures that I hadn't seen a whole lot of people doing. And my hat's off perpetually to those guys. They run a great club. Okay, so let me show you. As I said, I didn't really read anything this week at all, but I did have some pickups. I'll show you what I picked up. let's see. Should we go with the new books first or the specs? What do you guys say? And by the specs, I'm going to tell you something. If you know me, I don't speculate much at all. But there's one book in particular that I got pretty cheap, and it was something I kind of collect anyway. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it. Okay, so nobody's responding, so I'm going to go into the new books first. I just picked these up yesterday, so again, I haven't even cracked these open yet. So first, we're going to start with Marauders, issue number 2. I enjoyed issue 1. I actually reread it this week. It is a different take on the Marauders. Whereas the first volume of the Marauders, they were out to sea, going through the different Krakoa gates, helping mutants who, for whatever reason, couldn't get to a gate. I remember Russia was a big part of that. I don't think they're touching that now. Now they're out in space, and I'm still not 100% why they've made this kind of mystery around this mysterious box that Kitty Pryde has found that supposedly is thousands of years old, but she made it. And Cassandra Nova, who, if you're not familiar, is a big X-Men villain. She's one of she's actually Charles Xavier's evil twin sister that kind of died in the womb. I think she kind of came about psychically. She's back, and she's on that team as a hero, so we'll see how that goes. This is one I'm really excited to read. This is Giant Size X-Men Thunderbird. Thunderbird, if you're not familiar, was the first of the X-Men to die. He premiered in Giant Size X-Men along with that new team. So that was the team of Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops, who was the only one from the originals, Nightcrawler, I said Storm already, Thunderbird was there, and Banshee. And I think it only lasted a couple issues once they started the main series up again. With how, if you're not familiar with how Krakoa works in the new X-Men series, Krakoa allows the X-Men to regenerate themselves after they've died, so they can resurrect people. They have a whole bunch of protocols in place. I can't really discuss it here because it's complex and it'll take some time, but I do encourage you to check it out if you haven't. And Thunderbird is, again, they're bringing him back. His brother Warpath, you might be familiar with if you read X-Force. He's been a big part of that book from the 90s on. Next, X-Men number 11. This series kind of turned around for me. I wasn't enjoying it at first, but I'm enjoying Dugan's run now. What I'm kind of curious, just looking at the cover of this book, I haven't peeked inside, but if you notice, Polaris, and we're reversed here, this is why I'm kind of pointing around here, is in her Hellfire Gala costume. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. And the Hellfire Gala is coming back this year, but it's coming back as a one-shot. They've been leaking out some images of that. Kind of a fun fact, very early on in my channel, hey Tylux, very early on in my channel, I had shot a video with my sister who lives in Miami. She is a fashion expert. She's worked for Prada. She's worked for Ralph Lauren. She now helps run a shop in Miami, excuse me. And we had done a whole really good critique of the Hellfire Gala from a fashion perspective. And that's a part where I don't excel in. I've been wearing sweats and t-shirts for 3 years at this point. But, it was the damnedest thing. We recorded it. And for whatever reason, the recording had no audio. And I couldn't figure it out. So unfortunately, I could never air that. So hopefully I get her back in time to do the next Hellfire Gala. Again, they're only going to do one issue. They're probably going to do a billion different covers. I haven't even asked my LCS about it, to be honest with you. The one thing that they have been letting some outfits leak, I really like, if you've seen the Medusa outfit, which she makes out of her hair. Rogue's outfit has already come out. But one thing that they're kind of just started teasing, I believe, this week is that Mary Jane Watson is appearing. But it's not really Mary Jane. It's Moira McTaggart in disguise. And if you've read Inferno, you know that Moira McTaggart is not who she was at one point. Next is Sabretooth issue 3. I enjoyed the first issue of the series. Second one was I didn't kind of like how he was basically kind of assembling his own team, but I'm with it for the long run at this point. I think there's only one other issue left in this series, so I'll see if that comes around. And now this is our free comic book Judgment Day book. And I'll be honest with you, I'm approaching this as cautiously. And I should say this too. I do appreciate everybody who reached out to me about my free comic book day video. A lot of people were supportive. Some people were like, no, it's free comic book day. It's supposed to be free. Leave it alone. Whatever you feel, you feel. I'm not going to change attitudes or minds on that. That's fine. But as far as this goes, it's kind of disturbing. Like, you go on Facebook and you see people who are like, oh, I went to 9 different shops and got 40 copies of this. Why? They're trying to sell them on eBay. Hopefully nobody's buying them. I mean, my LCS still had a stack to go with them. So, yeah, I guess if you're in northern New Jersey and you didn't get this book and you wanted to, you could go to Fat Moose Comics today in Whippany and pick one up. I mean, as far as the event itself, I'm not really too excited about it. It kind of sounds like the same Marvel trope that we've seen in the last couple of years. You know, Civil War was great. And then it kind of started going down as far as Avengers versus X-Men was just okay. X-Men versus Inhumans was blah. Interesting enough, I think the Inhumans, they've kind of just cut out now. I haven't really seen too much about them, which is a shame because it was a good series, but I don't know. The other issue I kind of have with it, the shortcut that they use, so this is just my own little idiosyncrasy, is AXE. AXE. I understand Avengers, X-Men, Eternals. I hear Axe, I think body spray. So to me, it's like, okay, they're fighting over deodorant. But I told my LCS owner, put one aside for me. I'm not planning on getting the main series, but maybe this might change my mind. I just want to go to the comments for a moment. Matt's been chiming in. Tylox is here. Tylox and Matt both have great channels. Matt has actually the best comic book room on YouTube. I envy that room. And I've told Matt before he should go into some sort of business or start a TV show creating like man caves or comic book rooms. I think it would work. Matt, this is your first day off since April. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Hopefully you get to rest later today. Tylox needs to work overtime. We all do. Comics are expensive. And let me tell you something. Diapers are expensive. Formula, if you can get it, is expensive. Paying for doctor's appointments and hospital visits for the baby is expensive. But it all works out. Matt, I believe that is important to help support LCSs on Free Comic Book Day. These books aren't free to the LCS, correct? Always make sure I buy at least a few books from the show. Yeah, and that's the way to do it. That's the way to be. 100%, man. Captain America, issue 0. This was the Mark Brooks variant. Love Mark Brooks' work. I have his art book, actually, right behind me. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would see I do show off a couple times. I have a X-Men poster from the last time I went to. Actually, no, this is maybe not the second to last time I went to New York Comic Con in 2008. Mark Brooks was signing these big posters. I bought a print from him and I had it framed very nicely. Okay, next, Free Comic Book Day, Spider-Man and Venom. You can't go wrong with Spider-Man or Venom. Well, I guess you could. And you have John Romita Jr. artwork and Scott Hanna on inking. Scott Hanna, actually, I met a couple years ago at Garden State Comic Fest. They're coming around, and if you're in New Jersey, if you're in the area, you're looking for a good con, definitely check that out. They're actually going to have their artist alleys is always packed. The last time or the second to last time my wife and I went, it was the second to last time, right after we got engaged. We went and we ran into Jim Steranko was there. Jim Steranko, and he signed a print I had because I don't have any Steranko comics. At least I don't think so. And if I do, they're not like in great shape. But he talked to us for 10 minutes just about marriage and life changes. It was great. Lee Weeks was also great. I had him sign a copy of, I think it was Superman Convergence, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a guy who's got incredible artwork. He lives right here in Jersey as well. But Garden State Comic Fest over the past couple of years has gotten a lot of different media guests as well. I know they had Dean Cain one year. This year, They have, and I don't remember any of their names, but the guy who plays Vigilante on Peacemaker, the guy who plays what is it, Ikanos, whatever, on Vigilante and from Suicide Squad, and the guy who played Judo Master. And if you are planning on going, you should go online now because they're pre-selling photo and autograph packages. They're also going to have Tiffany, so that's kind of a weird mix, from the early '80s songwriter, I guess you could say, singer Tiffany. But again, I'm not going to any cons. That tempted me a little bit. There's actually a con today that I almost went to in Phillipsburg, and the reason I was going to go, it's the only time I've seen G. Willow Winslow, who, if you're not familiar, she co-created Ms. Marvel. She had another great series, Invisible Kingdom, come out. She was on Wonder Woman for a little bit, and I think that she's dipped her toe into Sandman as well, if I'm not mistaken. She's a great writer, one of my favorites. Again, though, I'm just not comfortable going into a con at this point. So hopefully when things are better, we'll be able to see her. Another free comic book day book was Marvel Voices. I've been avoiding the Voices titles for the most part, only because I feel like if you're pushing awareness, if you're pushing, hey, this is Asian Awareness Month, so here's a book about Asian awareness, you should be making some sort of contribution to Asian awareness or some Asian, organization. And of course, they do Black History Month in February. They should make contributions if they're selling variants for Black History Month. My whole thing. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you're pushing this and you're saying, hey, we're trying to raise awareness by making these covers, like, okay, well, you're making money by doing it too. So, I don't know, just my opinion. Again, this was free, so I kind of allowed myself to do it. This one is not a free book, but the What If Miles Morales Became the Hulk. I'm enjoying the what ifs for the most part of it. I've been speaking on those. What If is a great series. It's something I've been trying to kind of complete. It was a little out of reach when the animated series was on. Now it's starting to come back to normal levels. I'd have to go through and show you some of my CLZ app to really show what's in my collection at some point. Jim Rugg's Hulk Grand Design. I had to get this, if not for anything but the tribute cover. Are you going to Heroes Con, Tylox? New York Comic Con has been the biggest con I've been to. I've been there, I think, 3 times at this point. Even before the pandemic, I was kind of like, I'm not going to go again just because I don't like big crowds. But if you do go, enjoy. And I know there's a lot of people in my area. Brian LCS, Joe from Anachronic Comics, who have mentioned that they're going. So I hope everybody has a good time and stays safe and healthy there. Next, Nocterra number 10. Nocterra, when they started this next volume, was a little rough for me. I'm hoping the last issue, number 9, kind of did a little bit of a comeback, and it's been more of a focus on Blacktop Bill. I think that's really kind of what turned it around for me. So I'm interested in seeing how this turns out. This is one I was eagerly anticipating, and it sounds like a lot of people are enjoying it. 8 Billion Genies by Charles Soule. It just sounded like a really unique concept, and to be honest with you, it's a limited series, 1 of 8. I've had an idea that kind of floats around the same premise, not with genies, of course. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes through. And I say an idea because I don't know how to formulate it into a story, at least quite yet. And if it's something too similar to this, then I'm never going to do it. But we'll see. New York Comic Con is usually the second weekend in October. It usually falls on Columbus Day weekend. Next, Homesick Pilots, issue 14. I've had a love-hate relationship with this book. It is ending next month. Is the final issue. All in all, I kind of, when I say a love-hate relationship, I kind of stopped reading it, or not stopped reading it. I started disliking it when they went into more of a kaiju kind of direction. They've quickly kind of come back to the horror roots, and the last 2 issues especially have been very strong. So we'll see how this is, and we'll see how the conclusion is. But I feel like they're ending it at just the right time. They're not dragging it on. Monstrous, number 39. This is a great series, one of my favorite series, and very unique series. I've recommended this to many, many people. Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda have done something really special with that series. I think it's also winding down, but if you can get it in a collected version and you haven't read it yet, go ahead and grab it, because it's just a great, unique read. And it's not something I typically read. It's like a fantasy kind of world read, but I don't know, you got to check it out. Best I could tell you. Issue of DC Connect. Yeah, this was just kind of thrown in there for free. I've pulled a lot of, I've really pulled a lot of DC books from my pulls entirely. Right now, at this point, I think Batman, Catwoman, or Catwoman, Batman, whatever it is the last book I have regularly on my pulls. Yeah, I did pick up a couple DC issues just offhand, but yeah, I'm not reading the new Batman, and it looks like they're starting another era of, actually, they say it right here. A new era for the Dark Knight begins with number 125. It's going to be like their fourth new era in like 5 years. So I'm probably not going to check it out. I do like I can't even say the name, Chigzarsky. Chances are you know who I'm talking about, and I'm probably mispronouncing it. You might be yelling at your computer or whatnot, saying that's not how you say his name, but he's a good writer. I need somebody who could take a unique twist on Batman. Scott Snyder, to be honest with you, I think did an excellent twist, kind of turning it more into a horror series in my in my view. Tinian's was interesting. I kind of feel like he was just getting warmed up. Tinian's rather. Williamson, I didn't care for. Just my opinion. Hopefully Zdarsky does something interesting with it. I picked up the Sandman Universe Nightmare Country, number 1. I know this one's been out for a little bit. And number 2, this is a very cool cover. I think this is from Andrea Sorrentino. That is the Corinthian on the cover. And from what I understand, the Corinthian is the focus of this book. Sandman villain. I actually have his first appearance. I intend on getting that slabbed. And I'm eagerly anticipating that Sandman series, as I'm sure a lot of people are. They just released a screenshot or an image from the show with showing Morpheus holding his helmet, and it looks very true to the comic. So hopefully that series will be coming out on Netflix shortly. Catwoman number 42. That is the censored cover. I don't know that my wife will like that cover. We're going to have a discussion probably on that. My wife used to come into the comic book store with me, and she's great. She would pick out covers that she found a little salacious, excuse me, and question me about them. Like, well, how come they have to show this one skin tight? How come you don't see Captain America's crotch like you see, all her outfit form fitting? I was like, these are what some people are into. Now, granted, I think she would point out some issues like Zenoscope issues that my LCS carries. I'm like, I don't read any of that. But there's some people who do, and that's fine if you do. This is one I wasn't going to pick up, but I've been hearing such good things about it. It's like, let me just check it out. Jurassic League number 1. I wasn't going to pick it up because it does sound like a goofy premise. It kind of reminded me of during World War Hulks. They had a whole limited series where Marvel heroes became Hulkified, and it was just a dumb series, to be honest with you. And that kind of reminded me of that. It was all flash and no substance at all. Not Jurassic League. I'm talking about the Hulkified Heroes, I think it was called, or something like that. But I'll take a look at that, and I'll let you know next week what I think. This was Wonder Girl Trial of the Amazons issue 2. This just kind of snuck into my post because I was reading Wonder Girl. I don't intend on following her further, but we'll see. I was happy to see this one. This was a free comic book day that I really wanted. It's not a Marvel book. It's not a DC book. It's from Tokyo Pop, whom I don't own any comics from. But this one sounds very interesting. It's the true story of a farmer who fought to save the nuclear zone's animals, guardian of Fukushima. Fukushima, if you're unfamiliar, is the power plant in Japan that melted down. I think it was like 10 years ago at this point. And there's still a lot of discussion if there's radiation coming from there and how exactly it's affecting the area. But when I saw that on the preview, I was like, that looks interesting. I like a true story. I like historical comics as well. This one's not too historical, but I wanted to give it a try. And I love the Japanese imagery on this as well, too. You have the dragon, the water dragon, bearing down into the wave, the tsunami here. Okay. Next is Free Comic Book Day. So again, I didn't pay for this. The Overstreet Guide to Collecting Comics. I've been meaning to get a copy of Overstreet for a while now. Excuse me. Just because they really have good instruction on how to grade your comics. I know Alan from Climbing Comics, who's got a great channel if you haven't checked that out, used to do a segment where he would actually go through one of his comics, guess a grade, write it down, and then when he got it back from CGC, we would see how it kind of stacked up. And he was getting really good at it. Unfortunately, he hasn't done it well. I think he just kind of ran out of stuff to, send in. But give Alan a look anyway. His channel is one of my favorites as well. And this was the final book. This is also a Free Comic Book Day. Street Fighter Masters for Blanca. Street Fighter is a game that is always very close to my heart. I used to play it all the time when I was in middle school and beyond. My wife and I played occasionally. We have a classic Super Nintendo, and we did get a Street Fighter game for the Switch, but we haven't opened that up yet. It's hard to make time, the both of us at least, for to play a game at the same time. I'll play while she's watching the news or while she's otherwise occupied. But hopefully we just make some time to play Street Fighter together soon. Yeah, Alan is a super good dude. I sent him, Matt, one of those ornaments too. I remember his was Wolverine. If you're unfamiliar, last year right around Christmas, I had made, I gotten a hold of some wood, I don't know what you call them, just like pieces of wood from Amazon. And I just handmade some ornaments for some of my friends and family and some of my favorite YouTubers. Matt's here. He got one. Tylux, if you're still here, he got one as well. And Alan from Climbing Comics got one. I mentioned Joe before, he got one. And this is a good segue. Both the Bratton brothers also got theirs. And next week I'm going to be trying to go to, at least, it's all dependent on the little guy. The Bratton brothers are having another comic book garage sale next week. I believe it's from 8 to, I think he said 4. If you're in the northern New Jersey area or in the surrounding area and you want to check it out, I would check out the Bratton brothers on Instagram, and they'll have all the details. I think you have to direct message them for the address. But I can tell you they do have a great garage sale. Competitive pricing. They're usually about 20% below fair market value. I've gotten a couple great books from them. I don't know that I'll be buying anything next week, but I do want to at least show up and chat for a little bit and hang out. And with that, I do appreciate you guys sitting and hanging out, and I appreciate you guys coming by. I have to say, we've hit 100 subscribers finally to the channel earlier this week. I'm waiting about a whole week or so just to make sure everything sticks, which it should. I think that YouTube kind of eliminates the robots overnight that subscribe. And sometime next week, I don't know if I'm going to do it on this show or if I might just do a recorded presentation for it. I will announce the what the 100 subscriber contest will be. It's a unique idea that if I could pull off, I think is great, not only for our community but for the hobby. And that's, again, if I could pull it off, awesome. And it kind of really depends on the LCS. That's all I'll say for this moment. Matt, you're going to be driving to DC. Miss you, buddy. You know, DC is a nice trip, though. I think we went there for our 8th grade trip. First time I was in DC. And then my wife and I went recently with my in-laws for a wedding, probably about 3 years ago or so at this point, maybe more. But, Matt, you'll be there in spirit. I'll take a little coffee and pour it out in the street, not in the driveway, but in the street for you. But with that, I, again, want to thank you guys for checking this out and giving me a little bit of your time today. Matt, it's your first day off since April. Go and relax. But thanks for checking this out. I will have at least 1 or 2 recorded videos this week. I don't want to say what the topics are because I keep pushing them back. I did drop my latest recorded video yesterday. Yesterday at this point, I'm sorry, I don't even know what day it is. And that was another installment of Cooking with Comics. We made Deadpool's chicken chimichangas. I had to do it a little bit differently. I couldn't record it as I was doing it like I typically do. I had to record it and do the commentary after the fact. So it did take longer to edit. But I do encourage you to check it out. I know that not many people check out the cooking videos, but I think they're unique and fun. And look, I'm not a chef. I'm just like a guy who likes to cook for his family. I'm no expert. So this is me, in many cases, fumbling through a recipe for the first time. But check it out. It's a lot of fun, and maybe you might learn something. But with that, I want to say goodbye to everybody here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, love, and comics. Take care.